Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the 20s Detox. I'm Bianca, your host, where we dive into all the things that I'm learning and unlearning in my 20s to elevate this decade. Before we get into this episode, make sure to share it with a friend and follow along because every single Tuesday I release an episode that's either about elevating your life, that is, can just be in your 20s, but also can be in other areas of life, and also kind of always tying back to living seasonally. I'm doing this new thing now where I'm really having the seasons lead me through my creation process and this podcast because I wholeheartedly believe the seasons teach us more than anything else. Today, I want to talk about seasonal depression. Outside right now, it's around 5 o'clock. It's darker. It's pretty much going to be dark anytime soon. So it's kind of why I need to hurry up with this episode. But that is most likely why a lot of us struggle in the winter. I talked about the winter uglies a month ago, but besides the way we feel about our bodies and the way we look, also it can be the way we feel. And a lot of people tend to get down and feel like we have seasonal affective disorder, which is seasonal depression, the clinical term for it. I think it can also be another reason why a lot of us resist winter because we're just anticipating this coming. And based on my knowledge, I have taken class in psychopathology and learned about the DSM-5. I also am a health coach in training, so I learned about the other wellness things like vitamin D and all that. Based on my research, my education so far, and my tying it to the seasons, I just want to really dissect seasonal depression in any way that could help you guys. I don't want to take away from the experience that you might be having. There are so many different reasons why we feel the way we do. It is not just one thing. It's not just genetics. It's not just our psychology. It's not just culturally. It's not even just like what's going on internally inside of us. It's the combination of all of them. And so I don't have all the answers here. I don't want to say I have all the answers. However, I just want to maybe spark a different process of viewing it and potentially help you navigate any of the symptoms you could be experiencing. With seasonal depression, there are two main things I really want to talk about. The first thing is vitamin D. A lot of people link it with seasonal depression as to why they feel it. And long story short, the reason why that is because vitamin D, which is produced by our absorption of the sun, helps to control the release of serotonin in our body from our brain and in our gut. Serotonin is the happy hormone. It is what makes us happy. And antidepressants are used to increase your serotonin levels and just like have that flowing through your body a little bit more so that we're just feeling those hormones more and that sensation. When there is less vitamin D, it has a lesser chance to have more serotonin. Another thing about serotonin is more of it is actually synthesized in your gut than it is in your brain, from your brain. So the release of it from your brain is much less, around like 10%, whereas your gut is around 90%. And so I want to talk about how the supporting your gut also will play a really major role beyond just vitamin D. The thing about vitamin D is it is a fat-soluble vitamin. It is not a water-soluble vitamin. Its lifespan in our body is a lot longer. And the thing about fat-soluble, also because you essentially can't pee it out, is you can overdose on it. And not to the sense of like a intense drug, right? It's like you can take too much and that can affect certain things in your body. So I do not recommend anybody to go and take vitamin D or any fat soluble without getting tested that you are deficient. The purpose of supplements are to supplement, are to deal with deficiencies. They are not just used to for fun. I remember having some kidney issues just a few years ago, and one of the theories is probably I had too much vitamin D in my body. Our bodies are really efficient. Our bodies have dealt with the seasons for quite some time. Since the earth shifted that little degree and seasons became a thing, our bodies have evolved. I really want us to remember that. we're not that new here. We're not new to seasons. And our body has an intelligence in us to deal with these fluctuations in seasons in so many different ways. And one of the ways is vitamin D, because it is fat soluble. When it has enough, it stores in our fat reserves. And then when we are deficient in some area in our body, it releases the vitamin D into our body to be of use. It's also a great reason to have a little bit of extra belly on you in the wintertime, because those fat reserves are where the vitamin D is, not anywhere else. I also have this other thing. We take vitamin D in the winter, yet we slather ourselves to the point where we're blocking every single ounce of UV rays to make vitamin D in the summertime to stay in our bodies until the winter. There's a lot of problems there where we are very much going against nature. I do feel, yes, if you are deficient in vitamin D and you got tested for it and your blood is saying, yes, you're deficient, then take it as you will to just bring those back at normal levels. And then also in the summertime, don't go out and burn yourself to a crisp, but there are some times during the summer, you shouldn't have UV blockers. Let your skin absorb the sun to do what it needs to do in a not harmful way. And that is a little bit of a sciencey thing about vitamin D here, because I don't need to take vitamin D because I'm not deficient in it. I also need to go to melanin. The level of melanin that you have in your skin will affect your ability to be deficient or not. The more pale you are, the more you absorb these UV rays during the summertime. And also the reason why a lot of us who are more pale, my sister's a redhead, naturally they have the most amount of vitamin D in their bodies because of that. You just were able to absorb so much more UV rays. And also it's why you burn, because you absorb so much without that layer of protection with the melanin. And it's why, more so than not, the more melanin you have, so the darker your skin you have, the more at risk you are for vitamin D deficiencies, because you need more time in the sun to produce this vitamin D in you. So that's also something to remember. These are just natural things that our bodies have. And it's also the reason why we have different levels of melanin. The closer you're to the equator, the more melanin for protection and less need to produce vitamin D because you have it all year. The more you're away from the equator, the more your body realizes we are so deficient in vitamin D in the wintertime. Let's take the melanin away to absorb more and have more vitamin D in our bodies. Okay, little science lesson. I want to talk about that first and foremost. The other thing about seasonal depression that is beyond what's happening internally, it's mentally. We live in a capitalistic society that views the start of the year in the dead of winter, where there is so few resources, so few tools to actually have our goals thrive and our productivity do well and even stay on track with our dieting, etc., etc. I've talked about this a lot lately. And because of that, most of us feel very sad that we are not kind of staying with this unrealistic expectation. The real start of the year is in April, not January. The more you are disconnected from nature, really, think about what I just said with the purpose of summer and the sun rays and vitamin D, and the purpose of winter of the storage and the fat reserves and why we gain a bit of extra weight. There's purpose behind so much of these natural cycles, yet we overlook them and label ourselves and victimizing ourselves for why we are the way we are during certain seasons to literally just serve the working world. And if you are somebody that's wanting to get out of this toxic mindset, matrix, something, then you need to also see that there's a lot of strategy from high up people that have done this. If you look into the Gregorian calendar, which is our current calendar, there's really not a lot of thought process there other than just to pay our taxes properly and politics. Other than that, it's completely against nature. And there's no secret as to why we feel very sad during this time of the year, because it's nothing what we should be doing. So what is seasonal depression? What is it diagnosed as? Like I said, seasonal affective disorder, I learned that in school. It's not a standalone disorder. It is a part of major depressive disorder or bipolar, because it is when the depressive episode comes during a certain season, usually during the fall, winter. And then they would say you have seasonal depression if it goes away in the spring and summer months. Like I said, there's a lot of different reasons as to why this could be happening. I'm not trying to oversimplify things here, but the symptoms of it is really funny to me, because it's literally a lot of it is just the energy of winter, and once again us going against it, so then labeling it as bad. Some of them, the symptoms of it, I wrote it down in my notes: sleeping too much, overeating, carbohydrate craving, fatigue. These are the more dark ones: persistent sadness, hopelessness, energy loss, social withdrawal, weight gain, anhedonia, which is the lack of feeling connected to things that had already given you pleasure before. So you're feeling like very apathetic. So there's a few things here. I want to just talk about some of the symptoms. One of them, sleeping too much. I wonder why. Here's an idea. Maybe it's because the nights are so long and our circadian rhythm is a thing, and we get influenced when it gets dark outside, which can be at 4:30, 5 o'clock. And then the sun doesn't really rise until 8. So yes, we sleep more. That's one of them, okay? It's different when you were sleeping more to cope with the sadness. Other than that, if it is just because you were sleeping more, that's something to remember. Eating more. I just told you, vitamin D is stored in our fat reserves. It's also cold outside. Our body knows that to get through this season, we need a bit more fat on us. Not just for the vitamin D and all these fat reserves to help us through the season, but also because it's cold out there and we don't want you to be cold as much. We crave higher calories, more comfort foods, warm foods, carbohydrate craving. That is probably because we know that our bodies need more on us, literally physically, to get through this season. I think also, if we're not too careful, having too many carbohydrates really can have these energy crashes and over fatigue. So that's another thing I want to really talk about in supporting our gut in this episode, because I know I'm giving you so much science information here. I'm very spiritual, but I also love the sciences. So persistent sadness, hopelessness, those are things we cannot ignore. I've talked about sometimes why it can be really hard during this season. This is, once again, not to overgeneralize why you might be sad. There's so many different reasons. But in one of the reasons for specifically winter is it's darker out, which causes us to be more introspective, which causes us to think about our meaning of life. There's a lot more thought about who we are and what we want to do here. And sometimes we're hit with this realization that it doesn't feel authentic or to the best of our ability. And it makes us feel sad. Do not get lost in that. I'm going to repeat, do not get lost in that. There is a purpose for why you feel that way. And it is supposed to drive you forward, not stall you. It can be really hard. I remember Jim Carrey expressing something that changed the way I thought about depression. And it's deep rest, depressed, deep rest from the masks that we've been playing. When I feel really depressed, I'm hit with this realization of I've been inauthentic in some ways. I've been pushing myself in ways that do not align with me. And my body is pissed. She's going to make me sad until I'm forced to slow down and be like, this can no longer go further. You need to choose you. And those cycles are necessary. The more you actually embrace this season, the less you'll get really in those steps, and the more it'll just naturally be that introspective way of thinking to say, I've been doing X, Y, and Z, don't really like X, Y, said, let's move on. It's not to go into the depths of it, but it's really difficult when you look at every area of your life and you're like, I want to uproot. I want to uproot my life because I don't like what I've been doing. And you start to question your purpose. And once again, people, those thoughts are necessary. We're not meant to live in this world, on this earth, without questioning why we're here from time to time, and also how we can do better. We can do better. And don't let that bring you down. Spend moments like that, but I'm going to give you tips at the end of this to help you get out of it and actually use these thought process in a better way. Okay? just to recap so far of what I've said, a lot of this attention with vitamin D is important. Are we all deficient? Maybe not. I do think also the way that you treated your body and the ability to build all this vitamin D and then store it in your fat reserves throughout the winter is important. My sister, who is a redhead, goes outside in the summer in the evening at around like 6 o'clock, puts barely any sunblock on and just sits there. She's not going to burn to a crisp, guys. It's 6 o'clock at night. I do not go out during high noon in the summer. It's too much on my skin. But otherwise, I do go out in the summer. I've been not really using a lot of sunscreen. I don't want to advocate too much with that, but like not using a lot of sunscreen, not burning myself, but recognizing that this is an important part of our cyclical year to take in this sunshine. For the winter time can be used accordingly. And that's usually why, you'll actually notice sometimes you won't feel depressed right when it gets dark at that like seasonal change, the daylight savings change, usually happens around end of February, March, because a lot of your vitamin D reserves have been used up. So that's something interesting to notice how that cycle usually comes. And it's not just the vitamin D, it could be other things, but that's one of them. Don't take vitamin D unless you're deficient though. Please, 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 because you cannot pee it out. And I don't want any of us to like take too much of it because there's no way of really getting that out of your system, and it can actually be dangerous to take too much of vitamin D, and I don't think that's actually talked about enough. So yes, and then also our thought process about winter wildly affects our feeling because we need to be productive, we need to serve capitalism and work, and then it's dark and nothing out there is inspiring us. And so no wonder we feel uninspired. No wonder we feel sad. No wonder all of this is happening and we're craving a little bit of dopamine and eating a bit more. Guys, let's not overcomplicate things. It's natural reactions to certain systems. Okay. Now let's talk about some ways of getting over this, because I'm not here to just talk about complaining about the system. Let's get away with it. First one, I want to just talk about the disconnection that you might feel, the anhedonia, the just like numbness, moving through the motions of life kind of feeling. When you are disconnected, I want to ask, how much have you been out in nature lately? Like forests, trees. In the summertime, we go out in nature a lot more. We can put our feet on the grass. We can breathe in the fresh air. In the wintertime, not so much, right? It's darker. We're inside more. That's okay. That happens. But how much are you actually outside recharging? Because our bodies are energetic fields. Our bodies are nervous systems. There is electricity through here. And unless we are regrounding our nervous system and potentially connection to something greater than us, like nature really does that in a way that we can't really explain, just like the blue effect with oceans and lakes. There's something there that we can't really explain, but it gives us a great sense of peace and like feeling of okayness. That's even a word. That is something I want to ask first and foremost. What are you doing to connect and feel reconnected? That's the first thing. And the second thing there, and I've mentioned it, I want you to listen to my winter rituals or intentions and learn how you can add a bit more fun into your life to reconnect with that pleasure. I don't want to go too deep into that because I did in that episode, but to sum it up, it's to consume a lot of art, to create a lot of art, just immerse yourself in the creative world. When we lose sense of pleasure of certain things, maybe you're not switching it out enough, but first thing is disconnection with spirit, disconnection with source, and if that doesn't even sound right, disconnection with life, earth, here. You need to go out and touch grass. You need to touch something real. If not grass, snow, a tree, a branch. Second one, the social withdrawal is a reaction of winter. The point of it is that this is a very big time of introspection where you might feel sad. You might feel a little bit more down. You might question things. And I don't want you to completely withdraw from everybody, but select certain people where you can feel safe to talk about those things, like with your best friends or your family or your partner. It could just be one person, but there is a reason why we are having social withdrawal in the winter. It is not completely and only a reason of depression, it's because of the energy of this season to turn inward. When you turn inward, you're dabbling less in the external world, which includes socializing and talking to a lot of people and, the small talk and the work events. Now we are going to only talk to our loved ones, our tight-knit group of people that feel like home. So that is something I really would recommend. And don't overthink, I'm seeing a lot of less people during the season. We're supposed to. It's dark out. Spend some time with yourself. It's not always a bad thing. Another one, which you might not be spiritual, so take this as you will, and potentially alter it in a way that aligns with your thoughts on life. If you're religious or not religious, just spiritual, or you're atheist, whatever makes you feel closer to yourself here, I would recommend other practices beyond going out in nature. So I like to read certain spirituality books. I do tarot, my oracles. I journal a lot more, spend time in silence a lot more. Meditate and pray more during this time, because when you are very introspective, you could get a lot of downloads. You can channel a lot of the time in ideas and ways of getting out of this sadness feeling beyond your loved ones. Okay, that's all I'll say there, because some of you might not be spiritual. I will just say that I remember going through a time of intense grieving, sadness. I think it was like the hardest thing I've ever gone through when I lost a friend in a car accident. I only spoke to the people I really trusted with my feelings, like my sister, my best friends. I spent any of the extra time that I had all these thoughts going on in me, journaling a lot, meditating a lot, having faith in something bigger than me, that maybe this was for a reason. There's this greater thing happening here that is beyond what I know and what I can control. Letting go and just surrendering. I think the winter is about surrender, and this is a great way to do it. So the last thing I want to talk about is fatigue and supporting your gut. Because I mentioned serotonin, 90% of it is produced in your gut. There are two things, nutrition-wise, that are really important to support your gut. Your gut has a lot of bacteria. The bacteria is able to break down a lot of things, help our immune system, and just have things functioning properly. Our gut bacteria helps serotonin as well and our happiness levels. So happy gut, happy self, basically. The first thing is probiotics. You don't even need to take a supplement if you want to live more naturally, but you can. One of the ways that probiotics are is just in a lot of fermented foods. So yogurt is one of them. You have a lot of bacteria that you're introducing to your body. And another thing is like sauerkraut and sourdough, because it's the bacteria that is there in those foods that you can reintroduce to your body. That is really important. Secondly, how do you feed bacteria? I think a lot of us don't know what actually feeds bacteria. Fiber. The best thing is fiber. We cannot. The rest of ourselves doesn't actually use the fiber. The fiber is for our bacteria, to make our bacteria healthy. Think that it is a separate entity in you, this bacteria. And so that fiber that you're having in your foods, your vegetables, that is what your bacteria is eating to stay alive. And that in itself, if you just started doing that, where your breakfast, lunch, and dinner had something that include a probiotic and a prebiotic, which includes fiber, you will see your gut transform. I mean, a lot of people are selling things out there and we're forgetting the basics. You will see your life transform when you start doing that. And a breakfast that I've been loving having lately is eggs. So I have a soft boiled egg. I have a slice of sourdough, and I'll have a little bit of sauerkraut and some like a veg or some fruit, something with some fiber in it to just support my gut in the morning. Even doing that once a day will help you. I recommend more. Whole foods are the way to go, but It's really crazy. I try not to, I don't want to be like this, like, I don't know. I find it weird that a lot of people find this way of living extreme when we're just like confused with the propaganda of life. Like, so when did we start blocking UV rays from our body when it has a purpose? When did we think buying all the supplements and all this stuff and it is the only way when we've been living this long off of none of that? We haven't had sunscreen and all that. Yes, there are some people that had like issues because of like maybe going a bit too extreme. If you're frying your skin to a crisp in the summertime every day, that's a very high chance of skin cancer. That's not what I'm recommending. I just really feel like when you slow down and look at what's going on around you and like ask yourself, why is this happening? You're gonna realize that you might be doing a lot of things against nature, and it is why we reach these blocks, like why we feel sad, or like our body feels weird, or like you're not getting through your goals in life because you're starting it at the wrong time of the year. And I think seasonal depression is to just make sense of things when we're forgetting other reasons for it. We're kind of oversimplifying what's going on. And I, once again, don't want to say people who have clinical other reasons for their actual diagnosis. Like, I can't solve everything here in this one episode, but as long as you are going out in nature, as long as you have a good support system, as long as you have some fun, okay, let's go to the basics. You have fun, connected people, happy gut, you are going to be so much happier. Bottom line. I used to be somebody, guys, who was depressed every day and anxious every day. There were periods of time where I didn't want to be here, okay? Like, I was super freaking sad. I don't want me to say from this like standpoint of I don't know what it's like to be in the dark depths, okay? I've been down there. I've seen you, and I've decided to leave. I wanted to figure out ways of getting out of this that didn't need medication. That's like literally what the 20s detox is. What do we need to unlearn? There's a lot of unlearning here that we need to do to just feel better about ourselves and our lives and our bodies and our brains and our life. Like, there are a lot of things that we can do right now. And I hope that this episode made you feel inspired to have something else to do that can maybe help you here. Bottom line, if it just gives you one thing to focus on, that is wonderful. And if you want to share in the comments something that really resonated with you in this episode of what you would like to focus on, whether or not it's supporting your gut, or another one is seeing more of your soul community, your family, the tight-knit people that you love, or going out in nature more and making that more of a habit for yourself. And lastly, maybe getting into some spiritual practices or fun just to feel more whole from the inside out there. I'd love to know what you resonate with. And yeah, also I just want to say, like, anything that you're feeling right now, if you feel really down, it will get better. You will get better. Everything passes. Nature is going through intense circumstances right now. There's animals hibernating. They are just trying to get through the winter. And then every single time, regardless, spring hits. The sun gets warmer, comes out longer. And I think it's remembering that there will always be a thaw, and that thaw will happen. Let's see how we can use the snow to our benefit for the time being. I appreciate all for being here. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you guys next week. Bye.